you may have actually picked the wrong club to actually get the best out of him.
So the big question, did we improve the squad? Well, I'll say this, yes and no. No, because we had to transfer players out to get the funds to bring the players in. But we did demonstrate restraint because the sheer amount of free agents and possible signings was huge, but we only ended up bringing in 4 players. Attempting to solve the right back slot by bringing in 2 players, Samuel Regazzati, who has been released by Cremonese, and Spaniard Mateo More, who's spent time at Dortmund and Barcelona. As for the keeper position, we've upgraded massively, bringing in Samuel Preseason from Benevento, a player who kept 19 clean sheets last season. We also got a cheeky signing in Naber Menza, a midfielder released by Bayer Leverkusen. And that's the only transfer business we're doing, and it does mean we've got somewhat of a squad now, with a bench of 10 players. Once again, we're planning for the future by sending some players out on loan. This includes a second loan move from Nicola Diarico. I don't think he's quite ready for the first team yet. And thankfully, young goalkeeper Giuseppe Pinzotti won't have to be our number 1 goalkeeper. Instead, he's out on loan. After the success of the 25-26 class, I have high hopes for these boys. Speaking of that class, you can see them now all on our bench. Elton Soulage is there, Pelagata, and Giovanni Agresta. Ready for the new season, the pre-season odds have been adjusted slightly and we're rocking at 200 to 1. I also noticed from the assistant report that average age of our squad is 22.
You can't win anything with kids.
It was a good time to look at some individual training. Now if you get your squad screen like this and want a broad overview, go to the top corner, press this button and your coaches will give you some advice. Whether you take it or not is entirely up to you. For example, this one recommending Yaya to work on his first touch, dribbling and technique. I think there's better things we can do, so I'll just move on. However, this one, where it asked me to end Condelo's individual agility and balance training, I'll accept that, and that's what I did. But it'll go through your entire squad rather than clicking on each individual player. So tactically this season, my thoughts are why change? This is a bit of a maintenance season. We're not expecting to pull up trees, but we know this tactic does as well, and we can possibly push towards that playoff position again, so we're going to stick with it. So we're good to go. It's season 4 already, can you believe it? And you may notice this. We do have ourselves a Pro Bocelli shirt now, just arrived yesterday. Very nice indeed. Now, I did notice something when I was registering my squad. Have you seen this before? So go up to squad screen and then drop this down to registration, and there was an interesting little pop-up that I honestly don't think I've noticed before. So we'll go down to one of the players which I'm talking about, Condella. There you can see it pop out, ICN, Icon Player. A club icon player is a player who has spent at least 4 seasons at the club. That's cool for starters, but what's really cool is that each of the chosen 1 players have all got that status. Club icon. Naturally, I went over to the club info screen thinking they'd be registered here as well, but not quite yet. It's a new season, I really should update these kits, you know. We all know about the finances at the club, and taking some of your advice, we organised the dream friendly against Napoli. And we actually performed bloody well, 4-5 in a thriller. The rest of pre-season was a bit up and down, but we did get one last win just before the season starts. But yeah, finances are still pretty bleak. But then this happened, an embargo. Because of a takeover, a consortium was eyeing us up, led by Daniele Sebastian and Gilberto Leonetti. Here we go. Instantly I thought about the shortlist that we'd built, ready for some funds. Oh. Seems like Mr. Daniele Sebastiani was a bit of a fraud. Great. Our first game of the season was actually Coppa Italia against Serie A Bologna. Now look, we went out, but you can see how tight it was. Then it was time for the league campaign against newly relegated Venezia, so it was going to be a toughie. The boys were hyped, we were ready. And then Di Marino did that after 5 minutes and was sent off. And despite fighting hard with 10 men, we ended up losing the match 5-2. We then played Pescara at home and they came to us with a very defensive 4-3-3, and I noticed that the striker was really isolated. So halfway through the match, I thought 3 centre-backs, we don't need you. So I pushed one of them into libero. It was Reganesi who we pushed into libero, and you can see how high up he is compared to the other 2 centre-backs. So when we're playing against one striker like this, it might be something we do, where we use him as a libero so he can sit there into central midfield. He actually started to move off, which got us the second goal. So 2 games in, won 1, lost 1, not bad. A solid away draw at Crotone followed, but then a really bad home defeat to Spezia. Something just felt a bit off in the early season and weren't quite at it, but thankfully we played newly promoted Spal next and got a big win. This led to a decent clutch of games, 5 undefeated, But then Foggia came to us, and to be quite honest, they battered us. It was 3-2, but it wasn't even close. Back to your advice, on deadline day, I would manage to scoop in for Matteo Mosconi on a free loan. He's costing us nothing. Now, he's coming from local rivals Inter Milan, but there is a reason why I've took him. It's because his deal with Inter Milan expires at the end of this season, so I'm hoping if he enjoys his stay, we can take him. And we'll have to get him a face, right? So here we sit in November, and we are right in the middle of the league. We're 10th place, and that's the way we're playing. We've won 5, but we've lost 4. It's not great, but thankfully, if you look at the playoff situation, 8th is Modena. We're only 1 point off that, and if you look at the promotion situation, Venezia look like they're storming back to Serie A, but in second place, Entella are only 6 points above us. This league is wide open. So our second season in Serie B, it's a bit like that tricky second album for rock bands where we had a really good time last season. This time, have teams worked us out? We've said it before, but we might need to get a plan B now. Problem is, not only is our squad average age only 22, but it's blooming tiny. Look at that. You can see where our problems lie. If I go to average rating, so sort by average rating, all the top average ratings there, the top 7 or 8, they're all defensive players, centre-backs and defensive midfielders. Our forwards have not got going this season at all. There are signs that Rutti, that I've now called him because it's easier to say, is starting to wake up. He scored 5 and 11. And Moretti, after a terrible start, has now bagged 4 assists, so he's coming back. However, Starboy Condello has been awful and he's out for a month as well. So what I'm thinking is we might take this opportunity to rejig it a bit. Maybe we lose one of the wingers and push an extra striker in or attacking midfielder. Because at the minute I feel like I'm wasting Pelagata, who should be in the team and is wanted by a host of clubs. So what options do we have? We've got our set formation. In slot 2 is our defensive formation, but that is not going to get us promoted, so we need to abort that and be a bit braver. Therefore, do we drop to a back 4, moving these guys across, which would allow this role to potentially jump into there. Up front, go to a 4-2-4 perhaps. We do have the players. Being a bit more experimental, we could even ask our wing backs to provide the width and go 3 up top, because we've got some cracking central midfielders. Unfortunately for us, the clutch of games we've got coming are some of the toughest this season, with Modena, which have only lost 1 match, Giants Parma, Sampdoria and Palermo, and then Hellas Verona. The 50 best players in the world was announced, and I was outraged that Yaya wasn't involved. Moretti represented Italy under-19s and scored a hat-trick. Yeah, that's not good. He's going to be a wanted man. And the rumours persisted about Paulo trying to sell the club. Jan Oliveras left us. He went for a big pay rise to Portugal, but he gets £6 a week off our wage bill. Good player though. So we're about to play Medina, and you can see the problems I've got. We can't fill the bench. I put a couple of players available for the under-20s, so that was my mistake, so they can't play today. And Moretti is knackered from playing for Italy. So this one we go narrow with Sulaj and Pelagata coming in. But you can see Medina's form, they are flying. Whereas we are not. We were sitting deep, but started okay. Sulaj going close. Then we started to dominate the ball. You can see after 30 minutes, we've got 61% of the possession, and Pelagata started well with a key pass or 2. Slowly, Medina are getting into the match a little bit, but we are defending well. Looking at the heat map, I was a bit concerned that my defensive midfielders were a bit too close to my attacking midfielders. They're not getting up high enough. So I took a risk, and I'm changing Menza to a Secunde Volante to push up, hoping he will push Sulaj on a bit. Sulaj to attack, and I'm going to ask Ruti Gilano to push up a bit more. This seemed to help us. We were taking the ball down lovely, and Yaya's ball through led to Ruti Gilano, who broke the lines and put us in front. It worked a treat here, with Di Marino finding Yaya that ball through, and Ruti Gilano playing more on the shoulder now as an advanced forward, put us in front. Half time, it'd been a bit of a nothing match. You can see how much they're pushing us back, and I looked at their passing network, and most of it is coming down the sides. So we're going to try and trap them inside instead, bringing them into where our midfielders can win the ball back. And to help that, we're going to put Menza as a ball-winning midfielder. Another good tip, and this is one I got off FmStag. If you go to analytical data, to teams, and press Medina and passes, and then you can look for pass combinations. Here you see them combinations, drop that down, and this will show you the key pass combinations between players. So Veroli, Queso, Ponzi, Vitasca are the ones with the most combinations. So if we highlight those, you can see they're down the left hand side and down the right. So they are focusing down the left and right. So hopefully the move of trap inside is a good one for the second half. Okay, 15 minutes gone in the second half. Nothing's happened yet. All good. We're just going to make a couple of slight tweaks. My right wing back Regazzetti isn't having a great game. and I notice he's a bit complacent, so I'm going to flip him, the more experienced Mori. And Pelagata's a bit quieter now, so I'm going to change his role to an attacking midfielder and just ask him to roam about a bit and move into channels. 72 minutes gone, Medina still have not had a shot this half, but they are starting to build a bit of momentum. My two attacking midfielders aren't having a great game, so we're going to take a mini risk. Guerrero's going to come on for Sulaj, and I'm going to drop him into central midfield. Pelagata, I'm going to put him up front and ask him to just roam around as a false 9. Hopefully to catch him on the break. Let's take distribute quickly off as well. We're into injury time. It looks like the changes has helped us get this win. Get in. It wasn't spectacular. We had to work hard for it, but we got a massive win against Medina. That massive win just shot us up to 6th. This is how tight this league is. Medina, by the way, I don't know where I got that they'd only lost one match, because they hadn't, but they're still a pretty good team. But what that match has shown me is it's pretty clear that that is not the formation to go. I need to go away and get a new formation, because we're just not looking fluid at the minute, and we're having to work so hard in matches like that last match just to get a result. The good thing about us this season is we are solid. We've conceded 17, but if you think that 5 of those were in game 1, when we had that early sending off, we are solid, but we are not scoring goals, only 19 in 15 matches. This decision for a budget rebuild and bringing hardly any players in is testing us big time.